short or sweet. We've got like our long list, our short list, and our traveling team. So it might just be the traveling team coming to the wedding, but we'll be getting married this year. And one of the best things we could have got when we first moved back to the island from the prairies was a puppy, a golden retriever. And
Nice.
so every day, we head into the mountains, which we will later, and go for a run or hike. And so it's been kind of good medicine for that. And then, my rugby journey has been, really, I moved to Europe at 19 to play professionally in France and then Italy. And I've been kind of on the road since, on the rugby trail, as I say. And then, now moving back almost, 20 years later, full circle to my hometown back on the island.
Nice.
It's been really, really great. And I always think you need to go and spread your wings before you can, make an impact and understand the world and get knocked
Definitely.
down a few times and get back up. And so I'm really, really thankful now at this point in my life where I've been trying to grow the game across the country and again, across different countries. And now to come full circle and be right here on Vancouver Island.
Yeah, that's beautiful, mate. That's such a nice journey, and I'm glad it's led you back home, and I'm glad you and Samantha will be able to tie the knot as soon as COVID is done. Again, for everybody that's going to be listening, myself as a South African, I've been following Robin avidly quite a while actually, and well, ever since I got to Canada 4 months ago and sat under quarantine and in lockdown and restricted. Your photos is always a nice escape, mate, because I love dogs. My little Max is still stuck in South Africa due to, again,
Oh
COVID
no.
restrictions. Yeah, due to COVID restrictions and being able to fly through Germany where he's supposed to fly through. So my wife and I, we fondly look at your photos just to get in touch with the doggy again. But mate, I want to ask you, your wife, she's a frontline worker as well. Didn't you mention
Yeah.
that to
So
me?
she's, yeah, she's a registered nurse, on Vancouver Island here at Cowichan Hospital. So,
Bless her.
yeah, I mean, it's the same hospital I was born at, so it's properly
Yeah.
full circle. And
Wow.
my great aunt used to be the head nurse at that hospital. She's passed now. She was in her 80s and 90s, but yeah, she would have been proud. But yeah, no, we're and a lot of the crew, a lot of the
Special.
women in there now are around her age, and it's she's got a lot of friends on the island now, and it's a good place to be. So
Brilliant.
she's happy, and your wife's frontline worker too.
Same, mate. Yeah. Ines is a registered nurse as well. She's followed me firstly on my rugby journey. We met down in Scottsboro, South Africa. As a Canadian, she was there on a bit of a break. 3 months became 1 year. 1 year is now 10 years, right? We'll be, it's actually next week is our 10-year wedding anniversary. And we ended up back in Canada. And she's right now working on the front line here in the long-term care facility in Windsor. That's where I'm based. Um, yeah, we only touched base on Vancouver. This side of the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, is Windsor, Ontario, where we've made home and where our parents currently need us. But Robin, we here to talk rugby. We here to talk ball, and I want to know, when was the very first time a rugby ball either was passed, kicked, or by yourself, mate? Where did the love for
Yeah,
the
it
game
was.
start?
Yeah, it was Duncan Elementary School. So I was in French immersion growing up, and a lady named Mrs. Dickinson, or Dickens, sorry. She actually she's been living in the States. She just moved back here recently. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, that was kind of the first time, and it was more of a try rugby thing. And I was, like most Canadian kids, a full-time hockey player, and hockey all winter, baseball all summer, and then within the school systems, I played every sport like yourself.
yeah,
I didn't sit still, so absolutely everything. And I was, a jack of all trades, a master of none. And then, you think you're old when you become a teenager, and what am I going to do? And you
Yeah.
realize you're not going to the NHL. And then I kind of, I fell into rugby more seriously, I guess, in middle school in grade 9. And it's probably the best sporting experience I had. And, I would credit it to my coaches. I had 3 guys that were just pillars of humans in the country and definitely the community: Mark Jackson, Steve Ridenauer, and then the proper legend, Gary Duclos, that played for Canada in the first 2 World Cups. And he's still involved with our national teams as a front row specialist. He played pro in Japan, but just this
Yeah.
huge man. And then I later in high school and after high school, I got to play won a couple provincial men's championships with the man. So, the first time I think I was a kid at Duncan Allen, and at any of those opportunities, the fact that I actually stuck with it in those days, because there wasn't really a junior program at my club or junior programs across Canada at that time. There would be like, you'd play the odd game. So for you to actually somehow slip your way into staying in the game. And then when I got to Cowichan Secondary School in grade 10, after having such a great experience in grade 9 at the middle school, I was all about it. And Cal High had, a long history of a strong T-Bird rugby program, but we didn't have enough players for the junior program. So our coach said, sorry, we can't have a junior team. And the juniors weren't allowed to play like seniors unless they were huge, I guess. And so then I had another year off, and again, I could have slipped away with it. And luckily I didn't. I had a great coach in Pat Duncan, and I signed up in grade 11 and found out I was fast, because I wasn't big. So they gave me the ball, and I would run scared. And then after that, I had a great experience, and I hung up my skates, and the rest is history. So very thankful. But I would say the hook for me would be the people and the coaches that we had in our little community here, that without them, there's no way.
That's so great to hear, mate. Because that's, part of why we're doing what we're doing here is to highlight, if I want to say the mission and the vision of Youth Rugby Canada and our podcast is to highlight coaches, schools, clubs, academies, people that are making a change. And there you've just named 3 legends that made a change in your life and made you feel welcome in a new sport, in a new environment, and laid a foundation, a culture, and bred a philosophy in you. If I can, I'm going to, I sent you a draft, but we can never stick to a draft when it comes to talking ball. So I want to say, if you had to write now your philosophy, shape it, was it shaped via those 3 men? Robin, or has it been the journey to date over the last 20 years that shaped you and your current philosophy? Tell us more about that as a coach, because that's what you do now full time, right?
It's definitely been the last 20 years. I mean, I don't know about you, but none of us are saints. As we come through and we learn and we bounce around and we grow. But I was in business out of university, and I went to school to be a teacher. So the business was good for me, being a small town kid. taught me how to organization, time management, how to communicate professionally, how to follow up. But just really about listening and understanding your world around you. And what I learned from business, and I've transferred into my coaching, and I've taken all those professional skills that I just mentioned into the coaching approach. But the number one thing is I learned to listen. And you can't help a customer, you can't help a kid, you can't help anybody unless you know what their needs are, or what their, what their challenges are and what their opportunities are. So with an athlete, it's not like, here, I'm going to impose my knowledge on you. It's understanding where they're at, getting on the field with them, listening to them, and then setting them up for success, building a plan for them. So, and the last thing is, like, I believe you have to fight for success. Like, you have to claw and kick and scream and fight for success. And by fight for success, I mean, like, push yourself. I don't mean like fight others. I mean, push yourself. Because success breeds success. And I really wanted to go to the University of Victoria, which for many years has been one of the top programs in the world, and definitely North America and Canada.